I just have a question for the libertarians that are out there, and this is a serious question. I'm actually asking, how many of you are still trying to apply free market principles to what is objectively a captured economy? The US dollar is not a unit of measurement. It's not. It's a scam that's run by people who print US dollars, okay? So if it's not a unit of measurement and it's just a scam, then why are you guys still trying to apply free market principles to it? And I'm actually asking this because, and I've asked this for many, many years, because I still see libertarians pumping this ridiculous idea of we need to have cheap labor. I'm still seeing this from losertardians out there, pushing that, oh no, let's bring more people in so we can have cheap labor. It brings the cost of goods down, blah, 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 blah. That works in a hard money economy, maybe, right? That doesn't work in an economy where your currency is conjured from nothing. That doesn't work then. All you do is torture your domestic population with progressively lower wages and escalating prices. Well, no, we can bring the prices down. No, you can't go below zero, right? You can always go up. You can't come to, you can only go down so low before eventually you run out of ability to do it. And then eventually your quality suffers to the point now where everything has become disposable garbage, right? I mean, I'm surprised that a lot of you, because I really am, because a lot of you go around talking about how smart y'all are, and you're still trying to apply these principles to what is objectively a Ponzi scheme, not an actual accurate unit of measurement. This is why the Bitcoin people, for example, keep saying things like, hey, Bitcoin solves that. Bitcoin solves that. It's the reason they're saying that, even though probably 40% of them, maybe 50% don't really understand it all the way. A number of them understand that, it's a fixed unit of measurement. So that's why everything will go down against it. Well, sure, maybe. If you want to look at it that way, depending upon, of course, that depends also on your birth rates. And, birth rates are declining as well. And those are going to continue to decline more than likely in the West because you're trying to keep importing cheap labor, right? As opposed to letting the dollar collapse the way that it should. The dollar should be collapsing. It should have collapsed in 2008, 2009, 2010. It should have done that. There shouldn't have been any of those bailouts. And had that not happened, then we wouldn't be neck deep in shit right now. Now the country is also got a bunch of people in the U.S. that may or may not care about any of your libertarian values like private property and so forth. All those values that are pretty important to Americans. I live in Houston. Just 2 days ago, we had people firing guns wildly into the air where bullets are actually coming down on people's houses, hit one guy in the head. That just happened. But no gun laws. I'm good with no gun laws, but that means that you should be able to return fire. Okay, that's what that actually means. But we all know that if we return fire on the illegals firing wildly into the air, then who goes to jail? Yeah, we all know that. So, this is just, I'm just telling you guys that a lot of you really need to probably go back to first principles and start thinking this shit through. You want the US dollar to collapse. And the only way you're going to do that is to cut off all of that cheap labor. No more cheap labor from any other third world shithole. Cut off all the third world shitholes. Okay. All those countries, by the way, they probably need their best and brightest to put in septic systems. And I'm not even fucking joking with you on this one. This is, come on. If their best and brightest are leaving to come here to be cheap labor so that Elon Musk can make another $1 billion, I don't know what the hell he's going to do with it, whatever, then, dude, they probably need their best and brightest to maybe clean up their fucking rivers. Maybe they need their best and brightest to, I don't know, build buildings that don't fucking collapse. This is common fucking sense. So no, you should be wanting to cut off all of this cheap labor priced in dollars so that way it collapses once and for all. and then you can go back to a hard currency. And then all of those free market principles that you guys love to throw around, and you don't know why you throw them around, you just throw them around. But all those free market principles, then they come into play. They come into play when there's a hard currency. They don't come into play when you have a captured bullshit economy like the US dollar, right? And that applies to anywhere in the world, by the way. That's not just in the States, that's everywhere. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of you really need to start thinking some of this shit through, because I understand fundamentally what you're talking about, but you really have to stop trying to torture the domestic population with having their wages being destroyed for the work that they're doing, and they're not going to be subsidized. And that's the other part that the loser tardians don't understand either. Either they don't understand, or you're willfully ignorant, or you're just being flat fucking stupid. It's one of the three, I guess. There's probably a bunch of other reasons to them leaving out, but those are the ones that come rocketing to mind right now. So, yeah, I mean, the people that are working here, they're not subsidized. They're not getting all kinds of crazy subsidies, and subsidies take many different forms. They come in the form of tax breaks for companies to hire a bunch of fucking illegals. Or legals, Trump's legals. I guess it would be Biden's illegals and then Trump's legals, because now we're going to flood the country with legals. Yeah, as long as it's legal, right? I mean, lots of atrocities in this world, right? You understand, loser tardians. You guys talk about this shit all the fucking time. So let's have this conversation. Lots of shit gets done legally all over this world. Everything Stalin did was legal. Everything Mao did was perfectly legal. Yeah, so don't get around me with that bullshit, okay? No, if you truly want, if you truly want to have an actual economy and free markets and private property ownership and personal property ownership, and like, if you really want to have all that stuff come back, and you want to have all the so-called libertopia that you guys talk about, then what you need to have is you need to have the dollar collapse, so all this shit goes away. All the cops get fired, all of the government basically collapses, and what replaces it is going to end up being a very tiny, almost insignificant government of, like a town has a sheriff and maybe a deputy, and paid for voluntarily by the townspeople, and that's pretty much about it. Okay, I mean, like that kind of thing. That's what you end up going back to. If you want that, then you want this shit to fucking collapse. None of this bullshit where you try to keep, you guys say all this stuff and then you haul off and try and prop it all back up. So no, you don't want cheap labor from the third world to prop up the dollar. You want the dollar to collapse, and you do that by cutting off their access to cheap labor. And not only that, like, well, but the companies have a right to, yeah, the companies have a right to fuck off. The companies have a right to pack all their shit, and Musk can move to India. Why doesn't he move there? I'm asking seriously. God damn it. Move to India. Move all your shit there. I mean, if that's where all the geniuses are, then move there. I would say this to any company. Any of these big mega companies that claim they need to have a whole bunch of people from everywhere. Dude, move to those countries. Move to China and stay there. Don't come back. In fact, while you're about it, renounce your citizenship and get the fuck out. I mean, if that's what you're after, then just fucking go there. I have yet to have anybody who has any kind of, by the way, response to any of this, especially if I start cross-examining you and start getting you to like define the words that come pouring out of your cunt mouths. Usually after about 5 questions, you're fucking done. You're not going to have shit to say on the issue. No, it's because Americans are right on this one. The American working class, in other words, the people who do all the fucking work, right? They're getting a little tired of this shit. They're being tired of in this case, they actually are being exploited because you're trying to replace them. That actually is exploitation, because you're saying, hey, yeah, work and then train. By the way, I've talked to engineers, by the way. I mean, like, I talked to a 27-year-old engineer who was actually retraining 2 of his replacements in another country. We can all guess what country we're talking about. This has nothing to do with race for me. This is a money issue. I don't give a shit, what God you're praying to. I don't care what you're smearing all over yourself in the streets, whatever, okay? I don't care. This is a money issue. And it is, I think, for the vast majority of Americans, this has nothing to do with any of that. It has everything to do with them going fucking broke to prop this bullshit system up.